Hello there folks, back again for another video. In this one we're going to be diving into the article that I'm fairly sure no one wanted to see, but then I guess everyone needs to see because it's quite important when it comes to people's collections and where Games Workshop are taking Middle-earth strategy battle game with the new edition over the next couple of years, and obviously moving into sort of Christmas time and the launch of the Lord of the Rings, the War of the Rohirrim boxed set. So let's dive in. This is the upcoming range update explained. There's an exciting new edition coming to Middle-earth soon, which we've just talked about, the Battle of Adra starter set. It's bursting with new miniatures, and while the game has been reset with fully updated rules and plenty more to come, as with any new edition, the full range of miniatures and factions need to be re-examined. This means some older miniatures are leaving the Middle-earth strategy battle game range, but all of them for good reasons. Here's the design studio with more. So this is from the folks who are designing the game. This refresh concerns profiles rather than products. For example, we are removing the Knight of the White Tower profile from the game, as no such unit ever appeared in the movies or the books. Seems to be a running theme with what we're seeing here. And the Minas Tirith army already has a lot of profiles already, but rather than removing the entire set it was sold from sale, the Minas Tirith commanders, we have reformatted the set and it will be re-releasing it without the Knight of the White Tower. Okay, so they're taking out some more of the slightly more specialist elements of the different kits, which we have seen them do further on down the page as we dive into it. We've also reviewed our factions and tried to boil them down to eras from the movies and books which we want to focus on. Therefore, a few characters such as Banderbras Took, Bullroarer and Golfimble, who come from the books, have been moved to legacies. So they're not covered in the movies, apart from a passing mention, obviously, and they do come from the books. So they've been moved to legacies, so you'll still be able to use them in your games with friends, and also any tournament that deigns you to use legacy profiles, but they won't necessarily be available in official Games Workshop tournaments going forward. And I think that's one of the things to bear in mind, is that legacies is the key part here. There will still be rules for a lot of these miniatures, and they can be used in regular games against your friends, so your collection won't effectively be null and void, but they will no longer be on sale, and you won't be able to use them in official capacities at Warhammer World or official Games Workshop tournaments, etc., wherever they may be. Most of these miniatures will be going off sale, and some have already become unavailable for a while, but they will still be receiving legacy profiles so people with existing collections continue to enjoy these miniatures in their games. There you go. Certain miniatures are being rolled into different profiles, while a few are being removed from the game entirely. Additionally, some characters once had access to shields, horses and so on, and we never sold the models for those options, so they've been removed from the game. That makes sense as well. If you can't get the miniature easily enough, then rather than making it so people kit bash and do all that kind of thing, they're getting rid of those so that they can make it an easy choice for people diving into the game and playing it. That makes sense to me. I'll go into more of my thoughts on this as we go down, but we're just going to go through what is going to be going through various sort of stages of removal, etc., I suppose you'd say. So the Fallen Realms, this is one of the ones that is fairly packed. So these are all being removed from sale and entering Legacy: Golfimble, the Mahud King, Tribesmaster, Warrior, Raider, Half Trolls, the Haradrim King, the Golden King, the Abrakan Merchant Guard, the Watchers of Karna, the Corsair Reavers, and the Khandish King, Chieftain, Warrior, Horseman, and Chariot. So again, these are profiles and characters that didn't appear in the movies, and so they're being moved into legacies. However, just to reiterate, because a lot of people keep forgetting that this is the point, they are legacies. They're going to get legacy profiles, so you will still get access to profiles for these miniatures. So if you are still playing games with your friends with Khandish armies or whatever, or the Mahud stuff, then you can still use them in your games, as long as your friend's not an asshole. So, you know, they're coming off sale, but they're not going to be removed from play at stores and clubs and all that kind of things with your friends. So bear that in mind. Still, obviously, sad to lose them. It's obviously nice to have a wide range of models to choose from. but at some point Games Workshop obviously has to make a choice, and this is the choice that they've gone with. So there we go. Mordor. So removed from sale and entering legacies, the Ring Wraiths of Angmar, the Ring Wraiths of the Fallen Realms, and the Ring Wraiths of the Lost Kingdoms. So all of the named Ring Wraiths are going to just be replaced with the standard Ring Wraiths. You're losing Goroth, Zagush, the Blackguard of Barad-dûr, the Morgul Stalkers, Kardash the Firecaller, the Orc Tracker, the Great Beast of Gorgoroth. See there? Razgush, the War Leader of the North, and Musguz, the Orc Shaman. Interestingly, as has been pointed out on social media, this is actually a collection of relatively recent Forge World miniatures that are going to be removed from sale and entering legacies. Obviously, they're characters that have been kind of dreamed up, I suppose, by the Games Workshop design team and stuff. But it's interesting they're going, and yet they are still adding more, I suppose, with the Fallen Realms and things like that. But anyway, there you go. So that's going to be the miniatures moving from sale and entering legacies. The ones being renamed or repackaged: Morgul Knights now become Black Númenórean Knights. Makes sense. And the Witch King of Angmar will now be available separately, which is interesting. So obviously you need to have the Witch King of Angmar going to be available separately on the tabletop. And then miniatures removed from the game entirely. Shagrat, the War Leader. That's a shame. I liked Shagrat. He was really cool. I have a miniature for him, but he is going to be gone. Alas. Poor Shagrat. We hardly knew thee. Gundabad and Dol Guldur. These are the ones entering legacies. You've got the Castellans of Dol Guldur. Really nice miniatures. But you know, I can see where they're going, because you know they don't fit in with the movies or the stories. You never see these popping up, so they're going the way of the Dodo. And the Spider Queen is also going as well, so that's another miniature out to pasture, sent up to the farm. Mirkwood, no surprises here. Thranduil on horse is going, because Thranduil doesn't ride a horse, he rides a big old elky deer thing. So that's good that that's gone. Finally, makes a lot of sense. Isengard, we have a whole bunch of stuff going on the Dunlending side of things, which is probably representative of what's being replaced with War of the Rohirrim. So Thryda Wolfsbane is going, Frida Tallspear, Gorulf Ironskin. So Frida and Gorulf were miniatures from the Forge World release of the War in Rohan. They're now going. Thryda is also going as well, so one of the old metal miniatures, alongside the Dunlendi Chieftain, Huskarl's Warriors and Horsemen. So they're all going out as well, which is a shame, because they were really, really nice miniatures, but they're going. Mahur and Vrasku are also going, so you're losing some of the slightly more scout-based Uruk-hai, alongside the feral Uruk-hai as well, which are again sort of dreamt up for the game, so not necessarily required for what Games Workshop are trying to do here. And Grima on horse is gone, because you can't get Grima on horse as a miniature, so that's now gone as well. And the Oathmaker is now going to be available separately, rather than being packaged with Frida and Gorulf. So the Oathmaker is the one who cuts his palm in and pledges the Dunlendings to Saruman in the movies. Gondor, so miniatures removed from sale, entering legacies. Knight of the White Tower is gone, alongside Anborn and Mablug. Kirion is gone, as well as the Men-at-Arms of Dol Amroth. So they're all going to legacies, and then repackaged and renamed the Ministry of Commanders. So you're going to have them without the specialist Knight of the White Tower. Instead, it's just going to be the Captain, the Banner Bearer, and the Hornblower. And Beregond will also be available separately, as you can see there. Really nice miniature for Beregond as well, so good to see that he remains as part of the collection. But obviously they're taking out miniatures that they sort of built and designed for different eras of Middle-earth. So Kirion going sort of like takes things back towards that sort of War of the Ring period. Obviously they used Kirion for the War of the Ring period, but he has he harks back to other characters, shall we say, in the history of Middle-earth. Misty Mountains, Groblog is going. Ashrak is going. The Dweller in the Dark is also going. The Moria Black Shield Captain, Shaman, and Drummers are also on the way out, as well as the Warriors and the Warg Marauder. So your Black Shield armies are no more, replaced with standard Goblin armies, alongside the likes of Durubrurs and Druzhag, as you can see there. So they're still retaining a role within the range as full-on characters for the Misty Mountains. Yeah, so a lot of things going to legacies still obviously can be used, as I'll reiterate, with your friends, but you won't be able to buy them unless you get them from elsewhere. Although a lot of these miniatures are hard to come by anyway nowadays anyway, but there we go. And Durbers and Druzhag hopefully coming back as metals rather than... I think one of them is metal and one of them is fine cast, but hopefully they'll just go back to metal. That would be lovely. Elven Kingdoms. So here's some of the miniatures that I particularly love. So Eladan Unarmored and Elrahir Unarmored are going, but the armoured versions are staying, which is interesting. Good to know. I really, really like the unarmoured versions of Eladan and Elrahir. I think they're lovely. So I'm glad that I have them and I can still use them in legacies. It just obviously won't be able to use them in anything else. Glorfindel Unarmored as well. Again, glorious miniature. Wonderful unarmored sculpt. Glad that I have that, but obviously going off sale. Gildor Inglorium, again another lovely elven miniature. Really like that for my kind of autumn themed elf army that I was looking to build. Really glad that I got my hands on the miniature before it's gone off sale. And then obviously the Stormcaller and Arrestor, so removing some of the elements of the Elven Kingdoms there, while keeping other bits of it. So, for example, Armoured Glorfindel that they did as part of Forge World still remains, as well as Armoured Eladan and Elrahir, but other stuff that was sort of left out of the movies is being moved on. So Gildor pops up a lot in the books early on, helping the hobbits, and so good to see that they're still there as a legacy character, but there we go. And then the unarmoured Elrond is also being removed, so you've still got your armoured version of him for use with obviously the War of the Ring, the Hobbit, and also the Last Alliance as well. Rohan, so my main faction of choice. What are we seeing leaving sale, entering legacies? Grimbold and the Helmingast Command. Real shame, because I absolutely love the miniature for Grimbold and the Helmingast, and the fact that the Helmingast can sort of bulk up your Rohan warriors. Was really, really cool for building an alternative army based around Theodred rather than Theoden. So it's a bit of a shame to see them go. I had dreams of making a... well, I can still make those kind of armies, and they'll still have legacies rules, but obviously you won't be able to use them in sort of the unofficial capacity. Not that I ever play any games in an official capacity anyway, so it's not massively any skin off my nose, but there we go. Aeol the Ongoing, Erkenbrand going. Bit of a shame to see Erkenbrand go. Really nice model. The Rohan Outriders are going. I think that makes sense. Not entirely sure they were that well used anyway. The Sons of Aeol are going, and the King's Huntsman is going. And the King's Huntsman is with the miniature that was included with the Rohan Commanders, which is being removed from the set. So that will lose yourself a sort of another archer character to just be replaced with the captain, the banner bearer, and the musician, or the hornblower that you would have got in the normal set. My second faction, I suppose you'd say, the Dwarven Holds. What are we losing here? So Murin and Dra being removed from sale and entering legacies. Real shame, obviously, again, because Murin and Dra are fantastic characters. Really love the idea of them, love their vibe. But I can see why they've been moved to legacy, because they're a little bit more of a fringe case when it comes to miniatures. The ones that I'm really surprised about is that we're losing Balin the Dwarf, King of Moria, and Floey Stonehand. So we're losing two of the big hitters, and a main part of Dwarven Hold armies are being sort of taken out of the equation. It doesn't say that Dwarven Kings are going, so Dwarven Kings will still remain, which is an interesting choice. I suppose they'll be the new leader figures that you'll be kind of latching onto. But we're also losing the King's Champion and the Shield Bearer, which will be taken out of the command pack, as you can see there. So you'll still have your captain, your banner bearer, and your hornblower, but no shield bearer. My shield bearer had a little snapped off axe, which is a bit of a shame. But he was a pretty decent model to include in your little warband as well. So some interesting stuff being moved around there. Kingdoms of Men. the miniatures renamed or repackaged, so not actually necessarily losing any of those, but you've got Rangers of the North are being repackaged alongside the Dunedain, so it's good to see that the fact that they re-released those for what was happening up in Angmar. They re-released what was happening in Angmar, and so that means that they're still going to use those miniatures, which is lovely because those miniatures are great, and hopefully they won't disappear off into the ether. And then last but not least, well, two last but not least, we have Banderbras Took being removed from sale and entering legacies for Hobbit armies, alongside Birchseed. Quickbeam has been reassigned to Birchseed, which is an interesting addition there for those people looking to build up free people's armies, but there you go. So a lot of these armies are being added to Last Chance to Buy. So if you go over to warhammer.com, so if we go there right now and I show you this myself, Last Chance to Buy, I don't know why it's gone into New Zealand, but there we go. So ignore the prices on these, but all of these miniatures going on Last Chance to Buy. Gildor and Gloria and Glorfindel, LotR and Elven Commanders, obviously Durbers and Groblog going as well. Those are some classic old miniatures. Gorbag and Shagrat, Rohan Outriders, Grimbold, Thranduil with his horse, his horsey horse. Balin and Flowey, thankfully I've got those miniatures already, so that's not too bad. The King's Champion, really might actually pick that up before it goes completely. And some of the, obviously the command sets, as you can see there as well, they're just losing that miniature, and that miniature. So you have the core captains, banner bearers and musicians, but you've lost everything else effectively. So there you go. That's what's leaving the range at the moment, or being turned into a legacy pick. Now, what are my thoughts on this? Obviously, as I said earlier, it's a shame that we're losing so many of these miniatures and they're no longer going to be on sale. Obviously, it's nice, as I said, to have a large range of miniatures to pick from, and it's good to be able to build lots of different armies with lots of variety and all that kind of thing, and build armies that draw from different facets of Middle-earth's history. But Games Workshop are making a licensed game where they probably have... and they have to try and kind of balance the books, I would say, when it comes to what they can afford to make and what also New Line and Warner Brothers, etc., are expecting from them going forward. And so if they're going to add a whole bunch of new stuff into the range, some things have to step back from sale. I'd like to think that some of these miniatures will end up going made to order every so often, a little bit like they've been doing over the last couple of years. But I wouldn't hold my breath. It'll be interesting to see if we get new sculpts for a lot of this stuff. So, I mean, obviously some of these, like Grimbold and the Helmingast Command, Erkenbrand and all that kind of thing, the likelihood is we're not going to see new versions of those. But when we come to things like the Dwarven Holds, will we see a new miniature for Balin? Will we see a new miniature for Flowey? Will we see Floy? Will we see them use Hobbit miniatures potentially to represent them as part of Dwarven Holds? Because they've not been renamed or repackaged, maybe that's not the case. So while this is obviously a pain for a lot of people who have been collecting for a really long time, I can see why Games Workshop made the decision, even though it's obviously not going to be popular with a lot of people. And I've seen comments already from folks on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, etc., where they have been obviously up in arms about this. And you have the right to feel like that. I'm not going to say otherwise. Especially if you've maybe just started to be collecting things like Mahood and all that kind of stuff. Suddenly to know that you're not going to be able to get access to some of these miniatures in the near future. Overall, though, from a selfish standpoint, this doesn't necessarily affect me that much. I've been lucky enough to have access to a fairly wide selection of miniatures over the years, and I've built up armies for Rohan and Dwarves and Gondor and Orcs and Uruk-hai and everything else. And so while it's a shame that some of these smaller miniatures are going out of production, I'm in a fortunate position where I have access to a lot of this stuff that I can keep using it as legacies. Obviously, that's not going to be the case for everyone, but hopefully for a lot of people who have access to this stuff in their collections, this isn't going to be too much of a sting. Also remember, and I'll say this time and time again, legacies is a thing. These legacy profiles have been designed for the game. The designers behind Middle-earth Strategy Battle Game have clearly put in thought and time and effort into legacy profiles, so they're going to be useful on the tabletop with games with your friends. Yes, you won't be able to use these armies or these characters in official Games Workshop games, but I think the vast majority of people play a lot of their games with friends at home anyway, so if they're okay with legacy profiles, that's fantastic. Also remember that even though Games Workshop won't allow those in official tournaments, there's no reason why smaller tournament organisers, people who are designing things for the Great British Hobby League and all that kind of thing, can't look at what's available through legacies and allow and disallow certain things based on their power levels and all that kind of things. So much like the past with Middle-earth Strategy Battle Game and Games Workshop in general, there's no reason why a lot of these miniatures can't live on in people's collections and in both competitive and non-competitive formats on the tabletop. As I say, I suppose the last thing to say is that, you know, yes, it is sad that some of these miniatures will no longer be made available, but I am crossing my fingers and hoping that the Castellans, the custodians of the Middle-earth Strategy Battle Game, are going to be presenting us with something really fun and awesome in the near future when it comes to the game, and hopefully this is a way for them to remove some miniatures from the game in order to add some new ones into the mix and give us a revitalized and interesting new edition of Middle-earth Strategy Battle Game for years and years to come. But there we go. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Obviously, with a subject like this, there will be emotions involved because this is people's collections, this is people's hobby. Be nice to each other. Don't take the piss. Work out things in a civil manner. Don't be mean. And yeah, we'll dive back in and see what you have to say in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Hopefully I gave you a measured response to this rather than just jumping in the deep end and saying, oh my god, I can't believe this is so terrible, or this is just amazing, it's fantastic. You've got to look at these things with nuance and see where the benefits and the drawbacks lay. But yeah, goodbye, Band of Brassatook. You were awesome. I loved you very much. Really cool miniature. My friend has you and he thinks you're wicked. So yes, I'm going to move on and get ready for another video. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Dive into the comments, share your thoughts. Be respectful. And I'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Bye for now.